All right, now, the only thing I gotta do is one last thing. I gotta make sure that it's actually working on YouTube, like they can hear
I was gonna say, turn your phone off.
it. Now, I'm checking to see if I can hear us on YouTube or not. Let's see. Select board meeting. I think I heard myself. Yeah, good, all right. We're good to go.
All right, call the casting select board order. 3:02, we have a quorum. And the first thing on our agenda is to approve general fund and water warrants. So we have a general fund warrant in the amount of $29,957.42. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And for discussion, I will say that this warrant covers 31 bills from 22 vendors, including CMP, RH Foster taking away our sewage waste, and Pine Tree Waste taking away our trash. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. And we have a water warrant in the amount of $710.25. I will move that amount. Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. Next on our agenda is the EMS Sustainability Grant. And I believe, Tom, would probably like to address the select board about that grant.
I can need information,
Be great.
questions answered. So, the state of Maine legislature responded to a demand by the state EMS agency a year and a half ago to raise some $70 million to distribute 2 grant processes to EMS agencies around the state for sustainability, personnel, equipment, a lot of challenges that exist in EMS being unable to move forward and provide communities the services they need. As part of that, the second part of the grant, we were able to apply for a grant for $50,000. I put together a proposal that is the beginning stages of allowing us to transition to starting having paid per diem in this case. As we all know, we depend heavily on the MMA students for our response personnel. And during the summer months and the Christmas break and the spring break, we have very few people in town. And I'm 55 and I'm one of the youngest people on the fire department, except for 2 other people who happen to be young in the department, but also work out of town. So we don't really have the appropriate people for 25 or 26 weeks of the year, half the year basically, just to be able to cover the needs of the community. So what I did was propose that during those times, this year it's going to start as soon as possible, so probably not till the end of July, August at this point. So we'll only use money for 5 or 6 weeks, 8 weeks at the most this year by the time we get this up and running, because we have to create job descriptions and advertise and hire people. But the goal is from May 1st, basically until August 31st or September 5th or thereabouts when the students are out of town in the summer, to have per diem EMS licensed personnel who are at the station for 8 hours of the day. We don't know for sure yet whether it'll be 7 a.m. or 9 to 5 or whatever it'll be. We haven't figured that out yet exactly. But to cover that bulk of the day when those of us that aren't in town that are available to respond to EMS calls mostly are not here, or the people that are here are at work in town. And so to try to help begin the process of having that help, that was the proposal for this grant. And we were fortunate enough to be awarded it. And the idea is that we have money to spend on it from the state from now through until next June 30th, I guess, is the next fiscal transition. And then the town will be responsible for assuming it from the July 1st, 2026, annum. And if you look at it, I don't have the thing right in front of me, but it's about $25,000 or $30,000 a year to have these people for 8 hours, one person 8 hours a day, about 20 weeks of the year. And then I'm also in the process of looking at the federal SAFER grant, which is a federal FEMA funded grant. Who knows whether that money's going to really ever be available again. Derek's familiar with some of the other communities that he's worked in have used this, but it is also funding to continue helping with that transition. I think in the long run, what we're going to have to look at is most likely hiring a year-round full-time person, one, and that person will help us then be a leader and do some of the groundwork and help us truly transition to having year-round, 1 to 3 full-time people that are on our emergency response services. So that's-
How much when it goes to year round, how much do people, to get a good person, what do you have to pay?
So I propose, these are basic EMTs, so I proposed above the going rate because we're asking people to do something unique, which is come to the community where they won't have much call volume. We're gonna have them do things around the station, but we're also gonna talk to Derek in the town office and, they can help the harbor master, they just need to be in town. So they can help do other things that town, they're not gonna mow lawns and things like that, because nobody's gonna take the job, so the average rate for a basic EMT around the state right now is somewhere between $15 and $20. We're gonna pay $23 an hour. Hopefully retract them, because it doesn't have a lot of appeal, because the call volume is low and you're by yourself, like this, in a sense. But hopefully we can get a few people, maybe it might even be some of our townspeople that are licensed and want to do that. The difference and challenge with them will be managing that. They have to understand this is not, I'm getting paid by the town to sit at home and do whatever I want to do in town. And then you're working for the town at that point for 8 hours a day. So people have to be at the station. And so we'll just have to see how that.
So if we look at round numbers, with taxes and everything, it's probably $1,100 a week, and someone's $23 an hour.
It's 40 times 23 plus the multiplier.
Yeah, probably 30%
whatever it is. It's close to 28 or I haven't now.
Whatever, so let's call it, it's gonna be 60 grand a year per person, something like that. By the time you
It's
take
not that
that.
many weeks, so it
Well,
is.
once you add benefits in.
Once you add
If-
benefits.
He's saying once we go to a full-time,
I thought you said what we're talking about now.
No, I'm saying once.
What we're talking about in the future, I'm not even gonna speak to that, because
So,
And per diems don't necessarily get any benefits.
Okay.
That's why they're per diems.
Okay.
and so just so I'm straight, this is for 1 year,
this
For
is
one
from
person.
now until next
One
June.
person
for-
until
for-
next June.
Right.
30.
But not all year, it'll be
Yeah, it's just
6 or 8 weeks
just-
this summer.
Just the summer.
The month of December 15th
Right.
to January 15th, and then starting again next May 1st.
Got it.
And this will cover us until the end of June.
And then next year, the agreement is that then the
The
town will
proposal will
need
be
to
the town
pick
would
this
assume
up.
that cost.
And then the town will pick it up for 1 EMT or 2 EMTs?
Oh, just one at that point. I think, and then we have to progress towards, having a true career person. Because I think I don't know, this is, in my mind, the full transition we're gonna have to get to, you're gonna want a couple of able-bodied people in town that not just respond to EMS stuff, but also
Right.
fires.
Right.
And we're quickly evolving away from even having that in the summer.
Okay.
And so eventually, and by eventually I mean in 27 or 28, we probably have to have a year-round person. And that person will then have, at the same time, we're starting to phase into moving into the hopefully the timeline will line up at that point close to having a new firehouse, when we actually can have places for people to be. Then what the program really evolves into is gonna take more work and more assessment of what the town feels is needed, what the town is willing to finance.
Okay.
Because that's gonna, I can't speak to the cost of that, Dan, but we're talking, that person's gonna be a salaried person.
No, I get it.
Right.
So that's a
No,
different
we-
thing.
We get that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
our initial obligation is to mirror what we do in what is year 2 after year 1 of the
Yeah.
grant finishes.
And then
right?
potentially in year 3, we might wanna hire 2
We
people.
made that, that will all, I can't answer that.
We'll have to see how that plays
100%.
out,
But
but
this is giving us a way for the town to experience this. We've got to get a job description, we have to go through the process of hiring. How are we gonna manage these people? Like, what are the volunteer leadership gonna do to
Right.
manage them? What's the day-to-day gonna look like? How are we gonna make sure we get everybody getting their payroll and their punch-in hours and all of those processes?
Right.
This is a free year at no cost to the town to start to learn that and also get the coverage. And then hopefully then we'll work the kinks out, as it were.
that's a great program, okay. So, Derek, are we voting to accept this grant or?
Yeah, and Tom, I was noticing on the agreement, it actually has your name on that.
It does, but there's a way on the signature.
Oh, I can change
To
it? Okay.
designate somebody else. I may have to go in and do that.
All right, designate signing to another,
Yeah.
right there, okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
if
all
it
right,
doesn't let you do that, I can probably get the system to do that.
all right. So just acceptance of the grant and having me sign the paperwork for it, authorizing me to sign paperwork related to it, I should say.
So I will make a motion that we accept the Maine EMS Sustainability Program grant for $50,000 to Castine for the 2025 year, and that Derek can sign it. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom, this is super great.
Thank you for taking the time to walk us through it.
Sure.
Again. Okay, the next thing, I'm just going to let everybody know that at the end of work session, the select board will be moving into an executive session for just a few minutes to discuss a personnel matter. Okay, so I will
Can I get signatures?
take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. And after we sign, I will. Not now, we're not executive now.
Yeah.
Later, sorry,
They'll let you know.
there's too many meetings.
I'm gonna kick you out.
Right.
Off stage.
Say how we love you, but
Yeah, when you see me go. Well, I assigned it to myself, but it hasn't emailed me again.
thank you so much. Anna.
No problem. Thank you, you're going solo.
Okay.
Mm.
Oh, there it is.
I'll stop and see Pip on the way. Good. Hopefully Pip will be around.
Okay,
Is that it?
yeah,
I'll
that's it.
sign
That
So
still has.
now we can open our work session. And the first thing on the agenda for our work session is the rental house ordinance with the CEO. So Sean, you probably didn't see it. I went through and looked at the draft and made some changes and not proposed changes and comments, because they're probably not all that great. But, and I gave you a copy of what we got from Pete.
And I just read yours.
Yeah, okay, and then are there comments or do you wanna?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, so we had a draft of the rental housing ordinance. This came out from LD 2003 when it was now, I don't know what law. And we felt that it would be important to regulate rentals in Castine. And so, I don't know, I mean, if you wanna discuss any of your proposed changes?
Well, I think I can speak personally myself. I think when we had the public hearing, I didn't lay out the current policy to the one that was proposed. That's my bad for sure. But somehow in my mind, I had in my mind that the only changes that were happening were related to the fees. And so when we got to town meeting, and there were lots of additional comments from people about it, it became very confusing up at the table. And in terms of whether or not we were all looking at the right copy, if we had the right understanding, whatever. So I've gone back and I've read both and gone line by line by line. And so, so I do see that, of course, there were lots of changes. And so I think because of that confusion, that's why it was voted down at town meeting, just because
More clarity.
I think residents wanted more clarity. I think I realized that I hadn't become fully familiar with the changes myself. So I'm not exactly sure what our next steps ought to be in this process. I guess one question I have for Sean is, in arriving at the document that we have now, or that was before as a town meeting, has the ordinance gone to like Maine Municipal Association for any review? Is that, I'm assuming we do that with ordinances, am I incorrect that it's not a common practice?
It could come from either two ways. You could either get one from Maine Municipal, because they'll put out an exemplar ordinance of something that everybody's going to have to, they did that with general assistance. They do that with ordinances that the state, or laws that the state passes that everyone is going to have to comply with. You will normally see Maine Municipal put out a straw man. And then you take that and you adjusted to your community. So no, it didn't go to, Maine Municipal. It's my understanding it also didn't go to legal review.
Excuse me?
It's my understanding it also did not go through, Bernstein Sure.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was thinking some kind of legal review, whether it was Maine Municipal or our private attorneys.
That would be who I would recommend would take this on, because it's
Bernstein Sure.
not something that Maine Municipal blankets the state.
Sure, yeah, absolutely, no, and I think that would be great, regardless of who does it.
And Maine
get eyes
Municipal will
on it.
also, if you do send it to their bank of lawyers, you will generally get not what you'll get a generality coming back
From which one?
from Maine Municipal.
Okay.
You don't get, this is our legal review, this is what, because they're not working on our behalf.
Exactly, right, we are the client with Bernstein Sure, right? So-
That's correct.
Right, so they'll keep casting.
So does it make sense for the next step? We send it to Bernstein for, once we get it back with their comments, then we can, really look at it again. I mean, it seems without legal review that, if we do something now and it's incorrect, I mean, I would feel much more comfortable. The lawyers look at it, they get it back to us, and then we can deal with it.
Okay.
Am I allowed, we're at a work session, am I allowed to talk?
We're giving you permission.
Okay. I think that when we had that meeting, I just was here by chance,
The public hearing
the public
in
hearing.
May, right?
And then I heard a lot of people ask a lot of questions, and I shared the concerns, because window sizes existing in Castine don't meet egress and all standards. And people that have houses that were built prior to those standards, they would not pass that. And we can't have an ordinance where we say, well, we're not really gonna enforce that. Once you have the ordinance, then you have to enforce it. Now, when we do state government in Maine, the bills come out of the state house where there are public hearings and everybody's allowed to participate in the process. And then when it becomes law, then in Castine, we have to accept that because it's been through the proper process. The idea that this popped up on the radar like this, it seems like it's not really following what I thought our government process was here in Castine. And that is we form a committee, we identify the deficiencies, and then we all come up with ideas to work towards correcting them. And that was something that I thought was missing from that bill. You didn't see me at town meeting.
No.
I stayed away.
We weren't there.
I said, if they pass it, they pass it. If they don't, they don't. You didn't pass it. There are other people that feel the same way I do, obviously, and they did speak. And so really, I think if we're gonna do this, and we're not gonna wait for the state to come up with a plan, if we're gonna go solo, then we should have a committee, and people should be able to logically look at it. And we wouldn't be doing it blind. Other towns have done this. And Roberta and I discussed prior to this, they do it at different tiers. Where I live in Florida in the wintertime, if you rent your house by the week, it's really a business. It's a very high paying business. And so there, they have a rental license and it's $1,000 a year. If you're renting your house to somebody that's working in one of the restaurants, the license fee is about $100 a year. Because they're, like here, trying to encourage people not to look at their house as a business, but rather either live in their house as a home or provide it to somebody else who's gonna contribute to the community. And that's part of the reason I think that if you're gonna do this, and you're not gonna wait for the state to do it at that level and then receive that and implement it. If you wanna jump the gun before they do that, then really it should be a committee process.
My thought would be, I see that as I like that solution. The only caveat I would say, I would like it to be a timeline. Because, I just think that, this is something that we should get done. And if we were gonna do it, we'd say, okay, the committee's gonna meet for 2.5 or 3 months, and we want to report by this day so that we can, get it voted and get it into town hall.
I don't know that ordinance is typically written by committee, is it?
Can be.
Well, I used to have, just in town of Naples, and it's still going strong today, is they have what is called an ordinance review committee. And it's made up of various people from each of the various committees, whether it's the ZBA, the planning board, a selectman, town staff, I'm trying to think who else is on it. could be a tree committee, birds, could be any of those committees that are like regular, of course, the code enforcement officer, it's an important part of it. And all the little ordinances go to them, so if the committees like the planning board has some changes, I used to have them keep a little yellow legal pad of like, oh, we thought of that, write it down on the legal pad so we can remember that for the ordinance review committee. And then they used to go to work writing the changes throughout the year. So it could be
We could do
a
that.
committee, yeah.
And were there any private citizens or just?
I don't know, anybody could serve on it, you would appoint whoever on it. So if you want a citizen at large, they could be on it also, but ideally, normally they would be somebody that was on one of the other boards.
When I see changes in the past, like to our ordinance, the planning board always had a public hearing.
Yeah.
And we got a sheet that showed the existing ordinance and then page by page, the revision to the ordinance
Right.
and why that revision was made, what the goal was. And when we did this rental thing, not only was I not anticipating it, but then it really, not to criticize, it just wasn't
Well,
fairly.
this was something that Sean and I have been talking about for years, and LD 2003 exacerbated it, and we were looking to get something started, and so it started. I don't have a problem with an ordinance review committee that would take a look at all ordinances. I mean, that could be, I don't know, that could be a good thing.
So what do you think?
Yeah,
You're just waiting. To go back to your earlier comment, Amy, on the old ordinance. The old ordinance was nothing more than a registration. And you said, hey, I'm gonna rent. And we would get 85 to 115 applications per year, of which probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 of them were not fully filled out, not signed, et cetera, et cetera. So then you go back through and you chase down everybody and get their signature on the form. And then after that, you would cross-reference this year's applications with last year's applications, whether that, and say, okay, so John Smith is still renting, he intends to rent, oh, he's a new renter. And you go through all 85 to 100 to 115 of them, and you'd probably have 3 changes. And that was the only output from that previous ordinance, was an update to the emergency contact person, which then would be provided to the fire department. So the administrative tail to that tooth, there was no tooth, wasn't there. I found it to be less than helpful. It was administratively burdensome for really no output. Okay? So, as a matter of fact, I think even the late fees were maybe $25. So, this new ordinance is a combination of Rangeley, look at Rangeley, Surrey, Farmington, Camden. There's one other community I've got in my notes downstairs. And it stems from LD 2003 being detached, it's now Public Law 2021, Chapter 672, being detached from economic reality. And we are in a unique situation here in Castine in that you've got 9-month-year renters over at the academy, and then you got the summer folks. But the housing crunch is the person that, let's say, 2 doctorate degrees, just came out with student loans, that just got hired at MMA. Where are they living in town year round? Or are they gonna be moving on this street this 2 months and that street those 2 months? And where are they gonna raise their 2.5 kids? So the problem is, this is designed to try to start getting our hands around that so that we don't even know at this point in time, our community survey from the Comprehensive Plan Committee was less than worthless. It was so inaccurate. We don't even really know what our rental housing stock in this town is right now.
we don't.
I mean, we're probably, what, 70% solution, we kind of know, maybe, but we really don't have a true idea of that. And furthermore, you know, to Doug's point about older houses, yes, there are older houses that would not necessarily meet 2025 building code. So the state passed a law reducing window sizes, et cetera, from some egress requirements. Rental housing, whether it's an old house or a new house, that's on the owner. They have to meet that law.
Mhm.
You know, the average room is going for $600 to $800 a month. Okay?
Well, that's not true in my case.
Not true in your case, but in some I'm talking town-wide. So $600 to $800 a month. If that property owner doesn't make that comply with that state law, then to cash those checks of $1,800, $2,000 a month, whatever it might be, then it's on the owner. So the purpose of this is to try to regulate the activity and simply get our hands around it, because frankly, right now, we don't know. And I've been in 3 houses in 6 years. 3. Of that 85 to 115 that are, and specifically looking at this type of stuff, egress, you know, are they proper, is it safe? So,
If I could just jump in, John, if we did do that, like if we did have a more comprehensive, and we did have all the paperwork, and if people, in order to rent, they had to do this, you would have to go inspect all 115 houses, or somebody would, to make sure. So what I'm saying is, if you had to do that every year, or whoever the CEO is, you know, every year, that is a lot of work and a lot of time, and it's beyond your job description now. I would think that the fees associated would have to cover the cost of enforcing it. So like the fees would have to be, I mean, it's not gonna be $100 or $200 because we want the town to be safe, we want housing to be safe, and the only way to do that is to have it inspected.
Yeah.
well, what was written into this was that it was a 25% per year on a rolling basis, so we were trying to,
Okay,
25% on a rolling basis. The fees that are written into this ordinance, again, back in the napkin math, say we got somewhere between 85 and 115, so I took 100, an extra 10 hours per week, how much is that gonna cost? These fees should cover that cost. The intent was to make it revenue neutral for the
but
town.
I mean, I always think about the worst case scenario. It takes us 3 or 4 years to, you know, we're doing 25% a year, 4 years. It's year 3. One of the houses has a horrible fire, okay? 3 people are killed. It's, you know, I mean, I just want to make sure that the town isn't liable, you know, for anything that we didn't do a proper inspection in a timely way, you know.
Right, well,
And that's something that by putting this in place, you're opening the town up to that liability. As it stands today, the town does not have that.
Well,
liability.
one thing I've learned is that whenever anybody says the town will be liable, I always say, let's check with our
well,
attorney.
and that's why we have to have it go through legal review.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I think is important here is that we're trying to make everything safe. If there's a public safety part of
Exactly.
this too. We want to make sure that there are fire escape routes and emergency exits posted in the rental property.
Yep.
We want to make sure that there are 24-hour emergency contacts that are up to date where we can get a hold of people. We want to make sure that people know that the smoke alarms work and things like that. Like those are all of the things that we want to just make sure that it's safe for our renters, that it's safe for people coming here in the summer, and it's safe for a student at MMA.
Yep.
So we've seen houses that don't have a heat duct in a bedroom, you know, in a bedroom because it really wasn't a bedroom, it was a porch, and they made it into a bedroom, and so we just want to make sure that it's safe. So I think that we should, Sean, if you wanna look over what was done. And everybody should send, I think if everybody sent, let's get everything into one,
Like one, two,
like everybody send your stuff. Your
Our comments,
changes,
our
your comments,
thoughts.
your thoughts. And then, I'm trying to, this ordinance review board
I
is,
mean,
maybe is interesting.
my only concern is, I mean, if I read a document like this and I make comments, I mean, anything I write, this is my opinion, it may be
Yeah.
legal, may not be, I think it would be worth our while just to just go to legal review and just say, you know, here's we are, you know, like, are the bones solid? You know, I mean, we can nuance things, but I just think before we do too much work, let's just get legal review so that, you know, we're not adding a lot of stuff, and maybe there's a section that's written completely wrong, and here we're editing it, and, you know, I just want to be very careful when it comes to legal counsel.
Yeah, I think, I definitely would like have legal consultation on this, and I think it's a good approach. I mean, I have things like where I'm reading it thinking, okay, for the inspection, for example, you know, what's the inspection criteria? Like, I'd love to see a list of all the things that are gonna be part of the criteria, which I don't see in this, and a few other things like that, to try to find clarity of language where we talk about license and permit and things, and try to have some of that language be more consistent. But yeah, I kind of would, however it works out, I'd love to have legal review. I feel like, I think because there was considerable confusion at town meeting, and even looking back at my own experience at the public hearing, my eyes were kind of drawn to the few lines that were highlighted in yellow, and because I didn't look at the current ordinance, I moved myself in that direction, so I had no appreciation really, and that is my fault, as I said, for the scope of changes. So I feel like the public hearing we had might not have been as substantive, and I feel like, especially following town meeting, there are residents in town who I think would like to have their thoughts. So I don't know, I feel like we need to do legal. I'd love to have like maybe another opportunity for the public to put their thoughts through, and then.
So,
be able to come up
I
with a
just
final
want to share an experience that I had in my old community. So Woodstock, New York became this Airbnb, lots of Airbnb. So every Friday between 4 and 7, the phone starts ringing at the fire department, the smoke alarm's going off, the stove won't work, and I smell gas. You know, people, they're walking into a house that they don't know, and most of the time there's a key code, and people walk in and there's a problem. And so the town was getting so many calls on Fridays, you know, whatever the turnover day was, that the fire department wasn't able to take care of things that like real emergencies, because they were running around fixing all this stuff. So what they did is they created a fee schedule that if a renter, you know, called the fire department and 5 guys or women come out to deal with it, and it's a nothing, there was a fee involved. That if people weren't communicating properly, or they let's say whatever, they did something wrong, people were being fined for, you know, basically using town resources unnecessarily. So I just think that, you know, especially in the summer of the fire department being short-staffed, I mean, I just think that something like that should be in there as well.
Well, why don't we send it to legal?
Are you talking about the original one that went to town meeting, or the one that you've got?
Original.
The original.
Okay,
Why don't we send that one to legal, Derek, and see what they say, and then when that comes back, we'll have a public hearing. We'll get it out to everybody, we'll have a public hearing, we'll have members of the public tell us what they think and what they see as problematic or okay, or what needs to be changed. And then I also think that we should consider this ordinance review committee for the future. I think that's a great idea. I think that could be a huge help as we move along in housing projects and things like that. If we have a committee like that that has somebody from planning board and somebody from historic preservation, and just sit down and say, well, this property has these issues. Yeah.
I have a question just in terms of process. So if we do these steps with the ordinance, then would we have like a special town meeting? Like if we got to a final document, let's say January, we get to a final document, where we're like, okay, we think we're in good shape. Can we have a
We can.
special town meeting for something like that?
We can.
Rather than cause further delay to have to wait till June for
Actually,
something?
my first thought is that I would love to be able to get it on the November ballot.
Oh.
That would be
We
fabulous.
can get it on the November ballot. But we have to go through public hearings and make sure that everybody's had their
Where's
say.
that?
We have time.
Yeah.
We've got 6 months or 5 months, so
July, August, September.
5 months.
Yeah, 5 months.
Not to overspeak, but one of the key points that I've said all along is that we have to make new definitions. A single-family residence, it shouldn't be allowed to be an Airbnb that's rented 50 weeks a year, because that's a business. And that degrades the neighborhood and the value of the people living next door in their single-family home. And by definition, we should define a single family as having, say, 2 or 3 unrelated people or an unnumbered, family-related people. But the situation where we have fraternities and sororities popping up, that's really where the life safety issues are the proxy. And that's the way I think that it would be best attacked.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
No,
those are
yes.
really good
All
points.
right, so Derek, if you'll send it to legal and it comes back from
Mhm.
yeah, sure, Sean.
LD 2003 basically outlawed single-family residential in the state,
Yeah, they
just
did.
so we
They did.
have that here. That
It's all accessory.
you can put it up to 4 accessory dwelling units on a single-family residential lot now.
Yeah.
As long as it comports with some elements of local zoning. But I'd leave you with this, is that what stimulated this was a home we had converted here in town. It was a 3 or 4 bedroom, single-family residence that was then converted to an 8 bedroom. 6 bedrooms in the main dwelling and 2 in the accessory dwelling, all wired to the same circuit breaking box. Circuit breaking box was too hot to touch on some of the visits by electricians. The septic was woefully overwhelmed. It was a pre-1970 septic system. And that property was bringing in somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,800 a month. So the point that, well, if it's an old house that maybe doesn't meet 2025 standards, even though the state has reduced older house standards, that's $4,800 a month profit that you can then invest in bringing it up to those standards. If you're making it, if it is a business, which I would respectfully disagree that it's not just Airbnbs that are businesses in this town. It's long-term rentals as well, more than 30 days at a time. Because that property was bringing in a pretty penny every single month for that property owner. And he had done some things and they had done some things to fix it up, but it was still woefully inadequate. So I'm just advocating for us to get something on the books to allow for regulation, because with regulation also comes zoning ordinance standards that can then be applied. If we do not issue a permit for rentals, then the noise, the trash, and a lot of the other zoning ordinance things don't apply because the town doesn't regulate the activity. We only have performance standards. We don't have a noise ordinance like some like to quote. We have performance standards in the zoning ordinance for those activities that the town regulates. And if we don't regulate rental, noise standards can't be applied. And Derek's phone ends up ringing off the hook probably 20 times a year. I know mine did, with neighbors complaining about the rental that's next door because the kids wanted to have parties. And it's like, okay, well, did you contact the property owner? Well, no, we're contacting you. Well, we're in a do loop here because we're never going to get to an answer because we don't regulate that activity. So that's the whole direction of this is to start regulating the activity so that you can have some applicable standards. And are they the right standards? I don't know. I think your idea of a ordinance review committee is fantastic. But, you know, have some regulation standards that you can then apply to that activity so that we don't have homes being tricked out.
This is not going away.
No, it's just gonna get worse.
It's just gonna get worse.
Well, and oh, by the way, 25% of the, of Curtis Hall is offline for the next 3 years. So that's more people that are looking for homes for 9 months a year.
Yeah, and just for the record, like, I'm not opposed to this ordinance, you know, and what you're trying to do, Sean, and I appreciate the efforts. I'd just like to have legal review, have it, you know, tightened up a little bit and kind of, and have the opportunity for some folks to share their thoughts
I mean,
as well, but I
Just
appreciate what you've done.
just an aside, like, my daughter who moved back from overseas, they did a short-term rental in, I think it was a 6 month rental. And the town had outlawed Airbnbs. She was allowed to rent it for 6 months, but the town had outlawed all short-term, yeah.
I think if we can get it through legal.
Yeah.
And do a public hearing, or maybe more than one, but if we do the first, let's make sure that we get the first public hearing while a lot of the seasonal residents are here, so that they can, who rent their houses out maybe in the fall, so that they can have a safe house.
Okay.
I think Bar Harbor went through this, Dan,
They
where
tried.
they, and it went through the court system. I don't think you can outlaw Airbnbs and short-term rentals, but what they ended up at was a lottery system where they had a good handle on their rental housing stock. And then there was a lottery system, and only a certain percentage of that stock could then be short-term. It's something like that, but I don't think that we can just say.
No, I'm not suggesting we do, I'm just saying the towns, I only brought up not to do it, but just an example of different towns are doing lots of different
But
things.
lots of different things are happening, and so we do have lots of options, we just need to kind of.
But I mean, Bar Harbor is kind of like apples to space shuttles comparison here, you know, with us here. But, I mean, the concept, I think, still kind of holds true in that, you know, we know we're going to have a certain small percentage, but of our rental housing stock being short-term, but at this point, we don't even know what those numbers are.
Right, right. You're absolutely right, Sean. The first thing we need to do is get our arms around what we have and figure out what we've got and what's going on with it. And how much of it is long-term, how much of it is short-term, how much of it is all
I think we're
that
gonna be
stuff.
surprised.
It's gonna be good.
And the other thing is that if people don't register,
Right,
what do we do?
well,
It can be fine under this.
they can be fine,
Yeah.
according to this.
This goes down to land use regulations, where if this becomes a regulated activity, then home rule authority, and I forget what it is off the top of my head, but it's Title 30, MRSA Title 30, something, 24, I forget, 2498 there?
Might be, I don't remember which.
I don't remember, but the land use fines can be quite hefty,
Yeah, okay, great.
$100 to $2,500 a day.
Okay, great.
I just know the governor signed that new Housing 1829 into law today. That is going to make it even more interesting, like, so requires the allowance 3 dwelling units for any lot, including detached or attached, and 4 units if the lots are in designated growth areas served by the public, or centrally managed water and sewer. Additionally, the bill prevents lots in those same areas from exceeding 5,000 square feet for the first 4 dwelling units outside of the designated growth area. Law prohibits requiring more than 5,000 square feet for the first 2 dwelling units, not including accessory dwelling units, and restricts all ability to require lot sizes above minimum lot sizes for subsurface water needs in lake and shoreland, and also allows, I forget, like 14 more feet for affordable housing developments and some other stuff, so
Doug,
we're getting,
Yeah, Florida has a great thing in identifying vacation rentals. A vacation rental has to have a tax ID. And they have to have a tax ID because they're required to collect the lodging rates, which is how Florida doesn't have an income tax. So I don't know how Maine law,
I don't think we can do that, but I don't think we can do that.
Well, the people are required to pay, if it's a short-term rental, they're required to collect a tax.
Mhm.
So they have to have a tax ID to collect the tax. So the town should be able to know who has short-term rental tax IDs and who doesn't.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's all, actually, all of the platforms that facilitate people doing that have all that built in,
Right,
right? So
right.
But a Craigslist short-term rental might not.
might not know,
Right.
like the Airbnbs and the,
And one of,
all
right,
those
and
VRBO
one of-
actually have.
Right, yeah.
one of the things that was in what I was reading today was to that point, that they have to put the license number that the town gives them into the, whatever it is they're doing, Craigslist or
Yeah,
Airbnb or whoever they're dealing with, they have to put that in there. I don't know if we can do that, but, okay, thank you, Sean.
is that something you're going to think about adding in after the lawyer looks at it, or do you want them
No,
to
it's,
start
well, that's
discussing
in the
that?
one I sent, why did you send them the one I sent you?
The,
The blue and orange one.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean, the blue, orange and red
Thanks,
one.
Sean.
And then I'll be like, what is wrong with this one?
Oh, okay, on the registration day, okay, right.
Okay. So next on our agenda is C Street signage and the sign ordinance.
I think I told you that they can't do a little sandwich board or anything in that diamond, so that gets into, could we do a better job to do it? Number one, there's nothing saying that with the select board's permission that they can't apply for a blue informational sign that you see on state roads. And then the other suggestion I had for that area, because not from Cassie, you're just exploring, sometimes you get one chance of like attracting, people or whatever. And so ideally, we could put up a sign that probably promotes the fact we have businesses down on the town dock. Some people perhaps don't make it that far, that we could add a sign that probably says our information center is down there. There's additional, there's public bathrooms, and then there's other food options down there, or food and, I don't know what else, if there's a marine type of thing. I haven't found the perfect thing, but for a marina type of activity, or the kayak rentals or whatever, but I'm not sure what that sign, I showed you like an
Yeah,
example of
that
one
was
of them
great.
that was brown. I think that might have been Bar Harbor or Camden or somebody. But, and then the other thing is, if you ask somebody where C Street was, they would have no idea because there's no C Street sign down there. So ideally, we could put a sign down there, probably in front of Danny Murphy's, that would say, C Street, a green regular sign, and then people would know, oh, okay. Because I'll be honest with you, when I first came back or whatever, and Dennett's wasn't open, I was like, oh, shoot, can I go down there still? You don't know that. It looks like a dirt road. There's some private residences there. I think one of them, he says private residence. So you're like, am I allowed to walk down there? So I don't know how many people may not journey down there just for that reason, not knowing that it's a public street or a private street. So I think that we should get a C Street sign and get it in there. And if we can't get it into the ground, then we use like a concrete type of, U-channel post holding device. I guess.
Could they have a truck, like, if somebody had a political sign in the back of their truck, okay, they pulled into the parking lot, everyone would see the sign, okay? Could they have a sign on the
They'd
front?
have to keep moving it.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I guess you could have that. I forget where I've seen something like that. Somebody basically had a billboard in their truck.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works necessarily.
But I like the brown sign that you sent that had,
Yeah.
food
I
in
have
it.
a
Where would
copy
you
of that.
propose, posting that?
That's the problem. So the only place is right as you're going down the hill on the right-hand side, which is already busy with stuff, and I'm not sure where property pins are, but I think Maine Maritime Academy owns
The yellow
that.
Right.
So I would imagine they wouldn't care that much, but maybe they would.
Well, we have,
Yeah, I mean, if
we
it's
have town
stays
council
right,
on
we're
the
fine.
agenda, So we can bring it, we can bring it up
We
next time.
asked them about it, right, I mean, so, yeah, I just think that it would be helpful that, okay, the information center's down there, right? There's public bathrooms, two things that people are looking for, first of all, and you utilize that also to say, hey, there's additional services down here, whether it's food or,
Kayak tours, go. boat
right,
tours.
and I don't know, we can't really list all those things out there, but they're gonna be, right, so I'm not sure, there's gotta be some little pre-made icon for like the tours or something, like, we gotta go through.
Tours,
And
recreation.
you guys go on enough trips, you two, start taking pictures of all the info signs. I'm just
I don't
kidding.
look at info signs, it's okay.
But you know what I'm saying, but yeah, that sign there was the best. I didn't want it to be overbearing, it was kind of, okay, I'm a tourist, I'm looking for something, but along with a blue sign, you know,
Right. It was a
then
good start.
that would tell people what's down there. I wish they would allow me to combine several businesses on one blue sign, that would be good. I know, each person has to have their own.
But what, do the C Street sign.
Yeah.
Start on the C Street
Right.
sign for sure,
Yeah.
and then let's keep looking for the brown sign that we're.
That'd be a nice idea.
Okay,
I mean, you think about if that wasn't like right where it is now, and Tom's gone, but we, of course, in this day and age, GPS is a little bit different, but you know, you have a mutual aid, like a 5-alarm fire someplace, it's on C Street.
Right.
You know, the only way they're gonna know is to look for the smoke in the sky of a fire, I mean, so that's the reason we're supposed to have signage anyways, and it's one of the things I noticed we don't have, is a sign down there that denotes it's actually a public street,
Okay,
let's do it.
so.
okay, great.
Okay, we're back to canine waste.
So I actually had a thought about the whole canine waste thing. I think that, you know, we should just let everybody in town know they're responsible for picking up their waste. If, you know, if a town official sees somebody not picking up their waste, there's a $50 fine or something. Like, I think trying to provide stuff and who's gonna pick up the poop and what days, I just think it's really burdensome. And I just think, you know, I have a dog, I know you don't have a dog right now, you did have a dog. I just think like, you know, we all have to be responsible, and we put it out to the town that, you know, first infraction is $50, the second one's $100, and you know what I mean? You know, it would have to be,
If you get caught.
if you get caught, yeah.
Derek,
That's just my thought.
no, that's good. Derek, did you talk with Public Works and did they find, I mean, if they found it to be burdensome?
Well, he said that they could do it, right now, they're burdensome, that's the whole thing, so he would be emptying them, but I don't know how many of these you're talking about or anything else. I know at first we thought, oh, we'll put one here, we'll put, how many streets, I mean, that becomes a.
I guess
In the town dot,
my
I would
thoughts,
encourage people not to be even
Yeah.
using it down there. When you look down there, you're like, okay, there's no grassy stretch, most people would use you
most
know,
people
find some grass.
put pet waste in that trash can up by Camden Bay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
So I would say Fort Madison, Fort George, maybe
Beach.
the entrance, we'll do one at the Back Shore Beach, and the entrance to, Witherly Woods. And maybe down by where the story walk will be on Spring Street, on Fort Street.
But, I mean, I like the idea of having the containers, I just worry about
But
like,
if it will be more of,
Yeah.
or if it will be more of a problem, is it
Exactly.
not?
So,
and
of
also,
course,
some of them really stink when you're asking people, like, you're asking the town people, I mean,
To pick up sneaky trash, yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
Witherly Woods, Story Walk, Fort George, Madison, Back Beach,
Back Shore Beach.
right?
But I don't know, there might be people who don't want one at Back Shore.
Yeah.
There are people who are not gonna want that. So maybe not the beach.
So, well, I won't get one, and I mean, that's, I don't know how often I see people walking dogs down Wadsworth Cove Road.
I mean, we walk every morning and I have seen an uptick in dog waste
Yeah,
around here. I will say that.
well, we have some serial people that we need to track down and find out who they are.
I haven't seen them when their dog did
Right.
it, but I haven't caught anybody.
So,
If the Public Works Department will not find it burdensome,
Right, I'll talk to him again. I thought he was gonna make it, but he's probably
Okay.
busy. So, but you don't want one down with town dock.
No.
Okay.
No.
Even though I have found a couple landmines down there, a couple times now.
Well,
But,
maybe.
but that's a problem. I think you'd be encouraging. I mean, right, and that's the problem is that you're encouraging.
In the summer, there's 2 trash cans at the town dock.
Right, I mean, ideally, that's where they should do it. The only thing missing is they don't have the bags. But I'm thinking you're gonna bring your dog out for a walk. Any responsible owner knows, oh, I should have a little dog bag with me.
Well, but that's what some people do too, is they have the bag, but then they leave the bag.
Yeah,
Like, they can't seem to put the bag in the trash can.
yeah,
Like, they've done 50% of the work.
right.
And I
God
don't
forbid they put it
understand
in
the
their
mentality, like,
pockets.
you think someone else can come.
No,
up.
I know,
agree with you.
I know that I'm guilty, that I've gone down Perkins Street, the dog pooped, I put it on the curb, and I come back and get it. So if somebody happened to come by during that 20 minutes,
They'd be like,
Oh, they feel like someone has left it
Yeah,
there
exactly.
permanently, not knowing you're coming back.
yeah, I'm
Well-
talking about the people who don't know how to pick it up.
Well, I think that one of you guys should find some type of a purse or merce, that's a poo merce or purse, right? That people, it doesn't stink, it's scentless or whatever, that people, that's where they put their bags when they go for a walk.
Great.
Cause I know people like in Naples, I used to watch them, they always just throw it right in their pocket, and I was like, ooh, yeah. Now I'd be walking around like this with it, you know? But yeah. Okay, so,
Okay, just talk.
so you want Back Shore Beach included in this thing if
I don't think
not?
so.
Perkins.
I don't know, I can see there may be some who would object, but, if it were positioned maybe near like the porta potty, like
Exactly.
over, like,
Porta-potty,
not on the beach, not like
Yeah,
within plain view,
okay,
because I
okay.
would, but so I don't know. if
Well,
People
we-
would object to that,
David?
but.
I'm gonna suggest a good reason to put one at the Back Shore Beach, and that is, I have seen people take their plastic doggy bag and put it in the porta potty,
Nah,
Oh,
which of
Oh.
course is a disaster, because that has to go to the sewage treatment plant somewhere,
right,
and the plastic shouldn't be floated.
All right, well, let's try one there.
Okay,
And if,
Thank you,
and like you
so if
said,
they're already going there, maybe if there's one
Yeah.
positioned outside,
So
that
we-
might just.
and you're right, if we put it by the porta potty and it's not by the beach, people might not be so. Well, we can try it and then people get.
Or at least talk to Public Works, see what their
Well,
thoughts
we're
are.
working on it. Yeah, okay, thank you. Debbie.
But do you have disposal areas where you can put your little bags on the way out of a park?
That's what we're trying to,
Yeah.
we're looking at purchasing
Most people
some,
take it home, but if there is,
some do, but
it
some
can go to, it can go to
right,
some
if we had
compost.
some trash containers that they could put them in, that would be great. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I have pink bags in my car and
Yeah.
everywhere. People
See,
do
responsible.
responsible dogs. If I'm,
You do too.
get one in your winter coat and you put it on.
That's right. All right, so, we need to schedule a town meeting.
when is good for you, Ruth?
Anytime.
What are we looking at?
Oh, counting down.
What's good for you?
Oh,
We'll have to run it by
So,
Craig as well. And
are we thinking for July?
Yeah, is Craig around?
So, I don't know, schedule, I will, after this week, I will be gone for a couple of weeks.
Right, you're gone.
So, until the,
So
I'll be back the week of the 14th.
after the, okay, so the week of the 14th, we've been doing them on Friday morning. How about Friday the 18th? Should we try that?
Friday the 18th,
That's so long.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so July 18th?
Yeah.
Okay,
I can do that.
okay, good for me.
9 AM?
Yep.
Town
Is that okay
and
with you?
down,
All right.
And then,
9
who
AM.
reaches out to MMA? Is that
That's Sue.
Karen or Sue?
Sue will do that.
So will you follow?
Yep.
You or Jared follow?
11 on the
7, 18. Derek or I will.
18th. I don't know why this automatically kicks back like to that Monday. This one here, the town gown, all right.
We're gonna skip number 5. We're gonna do that. And then, Amy, you wanted to talk about the early childhood education working group mission?
Yeah, I
You
just,
had some questions.
And
yeah, I think I just asked to put it on because it's something that we had said we were going to talk about at some point, and we just haven't yet. I don't have any,
Okay.
firm comments or anything. I think when I'm thinking about this, I'm really trying to figure out what what is our goal as town in this kind of, service?
Mhm.
And where should our role be? Because I think until we get that defined, I think that trickles down to if we have a committee, what their mission
what do we
is
want them
and
to do?
what are we asking them to do, right? Because I think what we heard from our recent work session, I think with Nancy Sayre and Whitney present, is that, Nancy described they have what they call a succession plan, right? Where both Nancy and Whitney are the license holders. So even though it's early yet, there's no deadline that they need to meet yet in terms of notifying the town if they want to seek a lease renewal. But my sense and hearing from them is that I would assume they want to keep doing what they're doing, right? They have a succession plan in place, they have a lease. I wouldn't be surprised if they would like to keep doing that, so that as a town, that service is still there. But also as a town, yes, it's a lease, but the entity that's on that property is a nonprofit organization. And so, like other businesses, they run their business the way they run their business, right? And so anyways, I'm just kind of grappling with some of those things because I think we need to figure out what we want our goal and role to be in town
And I'll say
moving
that,
forward.
I guess I still believe that if there are people in town who are not happy with the level of service that they are receiving, that there is nothing to stop a grassroots organization from coming together and creating options on their own. Like, it's not like we have to give them a mandate. We have a facility, so I don't know that we need to give somebody a mandate to create something new. If people are not happy with what's there, they can work on it and create options.
I mean, whether we are in the business of childcare, okay, we own this building.
We own the land that.
We own the land, we own
And
the.
they are not town employees.
No, I understand, I
They're not in
understand.
that business.
No, I understand, what I'm saying is that the town owns the land.
Yeah.
We lease the land to a school that was set up to provide a service to the town.
Right.
Okay. I'll just speak plainly here from the people who have contacted me, that property is not providing the type of service, the range of services that it was intended to when the town approved that. And I've had many people say that they were expecting much more, okay? So, my concern is, as I said before, they apply for a new lease. The town votes one way or another, we don't know how that's gonna go. But if the town votes no, and the lease is not renewed, the chances of being able to have something quickly pick up the pieces, would be really difficult for, somebody would have to have a lot of initiative and a lot of resources in 6 months to be, let me say one last thing. And so the reason that I think a committee should continue, it should be like, we hope for the best and we plan for the worst, in the sense that we have a committee that is gonna look at what the town needs in terms of childcare, okay? They're gonna kind of start fresh in the sense like kind of what they did 10 years ago. Like, what is it that the town needs? Okay, do we need more preschool? Do we need more post-school? Do we need more early childhood? Do we need something for teenagers? I mean, I don't know what that would come up with, but I am just concerned that if we don't continue some type of discussion group, we can call it whatever we want. If we don't continue a discussion group, we could end up in a very, very difficult position come January or February, whenever the town vote is. I mean, imagine we don't do anything, we don't do anything, okay?
Okay.
And it gets voted down.
I think if we don't do anything, there's still a group out there that's gonna
Okay,
have a plan.
okay.
But I don't know that. So, but I don't know that it's our,
And I don't know it either, I'm just,
Right, because I think as well, like if we, I mean, I'm trying to look at it from all different sides, so if we have a committee that's, you know, ultimately making recommendations, as you might suggest, you know, to us, Dan, then as the town, we receive those recommendations. Do we know what we wanna do with those recommendations, right? Do we have a commitment from the town population about what it does or does not wanna do?
so let me take a flip side. So let's assume they apply for the lease and the town votes yes. Okay? And the committee says, we're really looking for teenagers between when school's over and 7:00 at night to do arts and crafts or a music thing or whatever. And we said to WG and Nancy, would you be willing to have a music teacher 2 days a week? Maybe there would be a volunteer music teacher that would do something to help the teenagers. I'm just making this up. So let's just say this committee's going out there and they're doing research and you know, I'm not making a position either way on whether they get the lease or don't get the lease. I'm saying that there may be needs that
that the committee can identify.
that they can identify, and you know, the best case scenario would be they apply, they win, they get the vote. We say, would you be willing to add these services? Blah blah blah. You know, we don't know how it's going to play out, but the worst case scenario would be that it doesn't play out well, and we have and the parents who are relying on the service.
Yeah, I know that.
But don't, you know, and I have, you know, I'm sure we all have, you know, they stood up here, the parents that really rely on the service, you know, we have an obligation to them.
Yeah, we do. Okay, well,
So I would be in favor of whether it's a.
so you're thinking that it's just.
Because why don't we say early casting education talking group? It could just be, you know, they're getting together every once a month and they're just talking about options and gathering ideas and making suggestions. You know, take the controversy off of the committee and the school. If we're just researching what would be best, what services do the citizens of Castine want from an independent education center?
And it may be such, even something like you proposed, Dan, you know, the idea of like a music teacher. Well, maybe one organization isn't able to provide that, but there might be someone else who's like,
Exactly.
hey, I can do that.
Right.
I
Exactly.
have a piano in my house, or we can
So
use
that's a
piano
good
upstairs or whatever. I mean, it can't
Exactly.
just be for general.
Well, let's just say hypothetically,
quality of life
we found somebody here and, you know, 3 afternoons a week, there's a guitar and a piano upstairs and we do it here. I mean, it's, you know, or a reading group, you know, Debbie is gonna read for the kids every Tuesday, and I'm sure she does already, but I'm just saying it's a scheduled book reading, you know, or they do something in conjunction with the story walk, or we do a nature walk with, I mean, I'm just making stuff up.
Okay, well, that can work. Okay, all right, so, I'll work on a draft
Okay.
and send it out.
We'll keep talking about it.
We'll keep talking.
Part of this, I don't know, do you guys see the library board meetings?
I don't.
Okay, so last month and the month before, by Zoom, I listened to the library board meeting. And the library board they're hearing complaints because the librarians don't want to have unruly kids. They're saying that we're not running a daycare.
Mhm.
But I'm thinking as a non-townsperson, they have that endowment and they have built the structure. So why is it that they don't have that same creative energy to build a bridge instead of trying to make a wall. So really, part of the library has the children's room, they have the money. Well, that should be something that perhaps the selectmen try to interface so that it can go from upstairs here to the library to the roundhouse. The facilities are here, the glue has to be applied to bring it all together. And the library board last month said basically, well, if the kids are here and they're not listening, you have the authority now just to tell them to get out. And that's been a concern for Karen and I, because living next to the library, when they kick them out, and then the kids just run around the library, they jump off the ledge of the library, I said something and nothing happens.
Mine. Thank you. I was wondering where it was.
Doug,
I'm assuming it's a
that's-
woman's because it was
that's an
annoying.
excellent point.
I'm a mess.
And this speaks to this whole, this,
It has to all come together.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not one person's responsibility, it's not all WG and Nancy, it's,
no, good.
That's good.
On that point, have you observed the children's librarian? She's excellent at handling.
I have not seen
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, she's good.
It's a lot of good things happening in it.
I'm just wondering about the lighthouse keepers lease. Are we making changes to this thing or not?
I, because it's a legal issue,
Yeah.
I would like to speak about it in executive session today. I mean, now that it's an executive session.
Well, then that's under C though. Well, that would be under C. I guess I could tell him we're gonna have another executive session
We have two executive sessions.
Okay.
under
We
category
didn't
C.
schedule, if we need to reschedule that, we
Yeah,
can.
we're fine.
Okay.
I believe we have a
So
discussion or consideration, condition, acquisition, use of real or personal property currently attached or
Yeah,
where
we'll do that.
premature disclosure of the information or prejudice, competitive bargaining position of the body or even.
Yes, that
That one.
one. Okay.
Okay.
So first though,
Duly noted. We're gonna go in for that one.
I'm not sure what's going on.
okay, before we do that,
State of plan.
Derek,
Yeah.
what about this letter that we received about hunting?
Yeah, we can post our property to no hunting. So that's what I finally found out from the wardens today. Even though it says we're not allowed to regulate archery, we are allowed to post our property
As non,
for a non-hunting spot, which I can't believe that, somebody would take that little 2.5 acre field and go, man, this is a good place to go hunting, but so I did a little more research on that. So before, they could basically do just about anything, and they were getting complaints from people about, hey, they're shooting arrows within 300 feet of my house, so that's where that law came in, to stiffen it up, not make it easy. The thing is that we also are designated on NEC as I don't know, what are they called, the additional hunting area type of thing, so, but yeah, we're allowed to do it just like anybody else, can post their land.
Is there anything that we need to update, an ordinance or anything that would speak to that piece of land on that?
No, I think we'll just take a select board vote at our next meeting to say we wanna put up some posting signs, and I think it's supposed to be every 100 feet, but the thing is, I found a center spot in that property, and I kinda drew a 300-foot circle around it and found that basically, ranges it, so I think that only need probably one sign on Spring
Okay.
and one on Port, and that should be, in one, if there's a driveway. If we're gonna have some parking spots, and it should be there also, so people are aware. So we'll need 3
so we need to put that. on the
posted
agenda for the
signs
next
on
meeting.
there.
Okay,
Yeah,
we
so we
do
wanna
have
put that on there.
winners for the slogan contest, and so now, who gets the signs made? Is that something you do? Is that something?
What are we gonna do? Are we gonna use how fancy are we getting with the signs? Are we gonna have pictures on them? I mean, or are we going to, just have the words and we're only using the winner, right?
The
The
three.
top one.
The
Oh, we're
top
gonna have
three.
all 3 of
Yeah,
them
we'll
have
look at
those?
what's around town.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
we
and
were
I've
going to
actually,
tell them.
already had people ask me
Yeah,
if they can put them in their front yard.
okay.
Like,
So I will,
Yeah,
I'm
like-
thinking,
Little yard signs?
Yeah,
You mean
I
like
just
start like
deleted-
our political,
what is it
like, calling for
called?
office acts? That'd be great.
I
So,
just deleted one of those things this
And
morning.
actually, right before MMA opens, I think it would actually be very nice if we had a banner on the third hole, like over there. We had a banner, so when people came to town, they saw it, and then as the kids, and then we could talk at the town and gown meeting, we could talk to Craig, or those that are coming, about having them all around school, we could have them on people's lawns, and it'll be fun.
okay, so Derek, is this something that you?
I think signs on the cheap will be the same place that I bought the other ones. They seem to be the cheapest signs out there.
So if we have
For
some,
those,
some made up, we can maybe offer them to different people.
Yeah.
To people if they wanna put them in their front yard, they can put a sign in.
And I'll take a look
And
at,
I'm sure the 50 of them will disappear.
They will, they'll go really fast now, because I've already had a ton of people ask me for them. So,
Yeah.
okay,
It'd be
Okay.
cute if we could get some graphics, like
Yeah,
some little.
yeah,
okay, the last thing for
that
this.
will add,
was-
because so the minimum is 50. And that, so I don't know yet.
what's the difference in price between 50 and 100?
No, let's see if they give you more for 100. Well, let me sit here all day doing that way. Let's see. That will not,
Or do
they'll
some-
bring it down to $2.15,
And what would they do
Per
for
sign.
50? For 50?
266. So it's gonna save
Let's
50 cents a sign.
Do 25 of each, I guess.
Well, now they'll probably be $4 if you do
Oh,
25. Let's
all
see.
right, never mind.
That 333 if you
Oh.
do that. So you.
Forget
Okay,
So, but I also need to get wires.
I agree.
it, yes.
So whatever the
Well said,
wires are.
Yeah, just
So those are corrugated plastic, but they're probably single color, but I will double check.
do 25 of each, we can handle 3 of those.
I will see what they have,
Okay. The
cause I
final,
wanna see maybe they got a couple posts inside.
the final thing on the agenda is
So 50 of each, or
25 each.
25 each, and I need you to get me the actual language.
I will send it to you.
25 each of,
Okay.
We're gonna let you finish.
Okay, finally,
sorry
we need
about
to
that.
schedule a time for our meeting on the 30th. On the 30th, we have to sign warrants. We will not have a work session on the 30th, we're just going to sign warrants.
On June 30th?
June 30th.
But something comes up, wait, what do I have on my list?
I knew it.
Dave and I were just talking, I'm like, I'm never sure if we actually have 3 meetings, because to me, every time we have a work session, I just count it as a meeting anyways. So I'm like, I don't know. Let's see, can I have a ratification, well, we're in work session now, so,
The 30th, so a week from today.
Week from
Yeah.
today, we have to have a meeting to
What?
sign the final warrants for the
Okay.
fiscal year.
can I have one
4 o'clock.
agenda item? Well, I'd like to have 2.
Okay, what are
All right, one, if we get our traffic officer, I'd like to get that
Oh,
appointment.
yeah, okay.
And then I also want, even though I've already taken action and approved it, because I don't have time to wait, just ratification of the salt bid, or whatever, the
Okay, so
award
the
of
salt
salt
bid,
bid. Yeah,
and then, so 2 things on the agenda, and then the fiscal end of the year.
3 or 4.
So,
I just, yeah, we're talking about salt, and then I know it's in the middle of the summer, or just beginning of
Can we do
summer.
it at 8 AM and get
We
it
can
done?
do it, yes, I'm not at work that day.
Okay, great.
So,
Yeah.
we haven't left yet, so
Are
we're
you
not
pretty
until
sure that's
Tuesday, yeah,
okay?
we're not until Tuesday, so
Okay.
I can be
Why don't we do
prepared.
it at 8 AM and have it?
Sounds good.
8 AM is not good for me.
You can watch it on, it's not good for me either, but hey, no, I'm kidding, I don't care.
Do you wanna do it at
Select
9?
board.
Do you wanna do it at 9,
It's up to you,
I,
you guys decide.
David?
I was hoping that the vacation, that I
Maybe
get a
you're
couple
important
hours
part of
and
this
trying to use
process.
up, and I might even take
Derek?
Thursday partially off.
8 or 9, Derek?
I don't care.
I'm putting 9 o'clock.
All right, 9 o'clock.
All right, 9 o'clock it is. All right, I'm
Okay.
changing it. I might zoom into that one.
Yeah.
No, I can't, now I think about it. Well, no, Sue will be back then, so I'm just trying to use up a few hours here of
Okay.
vacation time
Okay.
before the end of the
And
fiscal
now we go
year.
to executive session.
All right,
Can I ask one thing? I know I've succeeded in mine.
we have 2 things. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can I continue to talk to Derek about getting rid of Waldo Harmon's personal property that's on my property?
Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah.
Okay, and you guys are okay with that still? Amy, this came from
Yeah.
before you were on the board.
I don't think I know what that is.
Yeah, you know where Waldo Harmon's house is at the mobile home park? It's that thing that used to have all the flags on it when Waldo was still alive.
Is it on the roadside or is it in?
It's on the road, just on the right side of, the shore road. It's the first one on the left as you turn on the Bowden Road, which is
Yeah.
the road that goes to the back of the park.
Yeah.
So Waldo has passed away.
Mhm.
I don't own that. I own the lot, and I'd like to get rid of it. I was approached by Sean that said the town would possibly, pay a part of that in getting rid of it. The estate has left it. I don't own it.
So, yeah,
And
that's,
I can't provide that lot to somebody else, which is a good lot, because it's in the way. So I'm looking for, so I'll continue to talk.
that's great, you talked to Derek.
Thank you.
Ganilla, did you come to talk to us about anything, about something?
Did you ask?
Did you come to talk to us about something specific?
My hearing is so bad.
Oh, okay.
My hearing is.
Did you have something to talk to us about?
I have one concern, yes.
Yes, go ahead.
The other day when I walked out to my driveway, there was some people measuring the sidewalk.
No, that was probably Darcy.
And I said, what's going on? And apparently the plan is to pile over the sidewalk. Since then, I've been talking to other affected
Put it
persons.
on hold, I got, people don't wanna remove the sidewalk, then it may end up being grass one day not removed, is gonna come down to it, that's the thing.
But I think, I don't know how you process things like this.
Yeah,
And I have not been an attentive citizen because there have been a lot of unfortunate circumstances
Yeah.
in my family, which many people know about. Anyway, so I'm coming here in today is a little bit of a comeback. I need some briefing on a number of issues, including the rental, and I'll do my studying. And so I'd like to come in and talk to you about my concerns,
yeah,
and I also would like to have whatever I say informed to the select board. So that I'm not alone in this. And we will talk to other people who may have similar concerns, the traffic, teacher parking. The safety of children should really be number one, and it is in my book. And
Yeah.
I've driven that place probably more than anyone else in town since I've been having that house for 4 years. And I've been driving past the combinations of cars in the park and cars in and kids running in between and school bus stopping when if I have to leave. I got myself a turn around and I go the wrong way down rather than to snake around the school bus. It's all right, I go very slowly, no one's gonna hit me, and, but it doesn't happen that way. Okay, so there are concerns around the common, several actually. So I don't know where I start action, do I write a long letter, that takes a long time. I like to raise my issues and later summarize it in a written form, and have support from other
I
neighbors.
think, Ganilla, that you come and have a conversation with Derek, and that's a good place to start.
And if you were congressman, I would go to each of you, and I'd like to do that anyway.
That's
if I
fine.
can,
Yeah.
Because I like to be informed, but where you're coming from,
I will sit
I
down
want
with
to
you.
give you a little bit of
And
history
I'd be
about
happy,
this
Yeah.
story
But you have
of
to
sidewalks.
you have to practice Swedish with me though.
Huh?
You have to practice the Swedish with me.
Are you practice ministry?
No,
Swedish.
just-
We would all be happy to sit down with you individually.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Okay.
I'm not trying to say,
No,
I
you're
would
great.
like to talk through things.
Thank you.
Okay,
And I wanted
And it
to
will be-
ask you when I raised my hand, is there a timeline on the rental ordinance?
We are hoping to have it, I am hoping to have it finished by November for the November election.
Okay, question one, are you making any distinction between year-round, rentals?
we haven't got it back from the lawyer yet. Once we get it back from the lawyer, we can answer those
Okay.
questions.
Oh, okay, I'm a lay lawyer, so I'll be, I
Thank you.
have too many
Ganilla.
lawyers in the family.
Okay,
Thank
But
you,
anyway, I'm concerned with some of this.
Okay.
And there are a couple others.
okay.
thank you.
The
Thank you.
library.
We'll
Okay.
talk.
Okay, I'm not gonna bore everybody right now.
Okay, here we go.
So,
Thank you, Ganilla.
are we
Thank you.
ready?
Good to see you.
Where did I lose my
I'm
name?
We're gonna do
All
it
right.
here, or we're gonna do it.
we gotta go in and out, so I don't know.
Wait, David Avery had something to talk to us
Well, I
about.
want to ask, if we're going to discuss the lighthouse keeper's house lease during executive session, I'll just wait around, I'll get a report afterward.
Okay,
I have no idea,
If
yeah.
you do anything.
you don't have anything to share with us before we go in?
I do.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
So I spoke with, if you look at the Blue Hill, tax records, Mark Herbert has declared a homestead exemption, for his home on 5 Union Street in Blue Hill. Of course, that's only available to primary residences. That's not just for any old property. And he's a registered voter in Blue Hill and has been in 2022, 2023, and 2024.
Thank you
Very
very
helpful.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so I will make a motion that we enter into executive session pursuant to Title I, MRSA, Chapter 13, Section 405, 6A, a personnel matter. And then, Derek, do I need?
We'll come,
And,
no, we're coming out and going back in.
all right, and it is 4:28. Is it
4:28
second?
PM.
Second, anybody?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
PM second.
I'll go.
Hold on now, you gotta shut off the thing also.
Okay.
I gotta see if I got a thing. Oh my God. Hold on, Amy, I'm gonna go out there anyways. I want to see about if I threw some, I'm gonna go there and get